Okay, I wanted to do some education on this video, and part of my education I want to show is the proper way to pan and the proper way to classify. I've been watching videos online and on YouTube about these guys jumping in the rivers or classifying their material, whether they're high banking or they're just panning, and they're always using just one classifier, and that's really not the right way to do it. I'm from the West Coast, from Oregon, been gold mining my whole life. My father was gold mining his whole life. We were basically educated by the gentlemen that make these products, whether it's the Garrett Gravity Trap gold pans or the companies that make the classifiers. And so the proper way to classify is you want to step down roughly between an eighth to a quarter inch at a time. And so you start with your half-inch classifier, you got your quarter-inch classifier, and then you got your eighth-inch classifiers. And you use a bucket classifier, and you use a bucket classifier running water. So if you're going to classify material and you're at the river, you want to submerge your 5-gallon bucket in the river so it's completely underwater while you're classifying. I watch these guys take it, and they're classifying, and they're taking a pan and dumping water over the top of it. Submerge your 5-gallon bucket in the water, run a stacking classifiers like this, and then that way when you dump your product in and it's underwater, the water's coming up through your classifiers and allowing it to sift through them. Then you can take one off at a time, check out the classifier. If it has any nuggets or any large gold, throw it out. Take off the next one, do the same thing. And what you're going to notice from this video is that as we start to do this, we're going to check each classifier, and we're going to see whether we get gold in the half-inch, the quarter-inch, or the eighth-inch. And then that's really the proper way to do it. I watch these guys with quarter-inch material. They're classifying it in the river, or they're classifying it next to a river without submersing their 5-gallon bucket. And then they don't even look at it. They just throw it out. They don't know if they're getting a nugget or if the nugget's going overboard. All they're looking for is the 4 little flakes they get for panning all day. So I'm trying to do some education so the folks that don't know how to pan, don't know how to classify, and you want to get out there for the first time, you're actually doing it correctly. And what I'm finding is on the internet, there's a lot of folks out there that are doing it. They've never been taught, and maybe this is a good education for them, that this is really the right way to do it. And I was taught by the manufacturers of the products how to use them. So I hope this helps, and this is informational for everybody. Okay, so we're going to start classifying our concentrates out of our trommel. All we got, if you can look right here, all we got is about a half a bucket. And most of that gravel you see in there is the gravel that we put in it to help break down the clay. We use laundry soap and gravel, and it helps break down that clay. So if you watch, we're going to just kind of show you the right way of classifying material, whether you're in the river or you're on land or you're doing it off of a high banker. This is the way you should be doing it. A little bit more pop. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take the large stones from the half-inch, and we're going to basically dump them in the bucket so we can go through them later and see if there's gold nuggets the size of a half-inch piece or not. But what you do is we're just going to take out the really big screen right now. And then basically what you got left is you got the quarter-inch screen here, and you got the eighth-inch screen. As you can see, there's hardly anything in those. So we're going to leave them back in, and we're going to keep classifying. That's good. just wanted to pick out some things to kind of show you guys this material we're mining in. You can see how heavy. These are big pieces of iron. You can see the little squares of iron in it. This is actually coming out of the northern part of the United States. And we're finding a lot of that here, which is coming out of the glacier melt, that when it melted. So all we're doing is just kind of keep classifying this material down. You got your bigger pieces. I take the big chunks out, throw them out here in my rock pile. And then we kind of look through it, see what's in the 1/2 inch. We save it all. We don't throw it out because we last 2 years ago when we were classifying like this, we found a 1/2 inch gold nugget that didn't go through these cracks. So everything I watch on TV, on YouTube and whatnot, I watch them take this 1/2 inch and they just throw it back in the river. They don't even look. 2 years ago, we found a nugget that was large enough that didn't go through our 1/2 inch. And that would have made a normal person sick throwing it back into the river. So that's one reason we keep it. We don't throw it away, because we will sort through that later. Well, I want you to bring it over here. Take a look at this. I want you to see something. This is the 1/4 inch, and I'm gonna get it into the sun. I don't know if you guys can see this or not. Look at this nugget we just found. That's in the 1/4 inch screen that I keep watching people. Look at that piece of gold. It's still got the clay all embedded in it. And look at that piece of gold. Now this is what I keep seeing people classifying, and you can watch YouTube video after video and then throw that back in the river. And all they're doing and then is panning out under the 1/4 inch. And I just found that in my 1/4 inch sluice. Look at that piece. That's a nice heavy nugget. And so what you want to do is you really want to go through this. So what I'll do is we'll take the nozzle and we're going to keep washing the 1/4 inch down, because you can see that there's other fines in it. So then we'll kind of look through this. I don't typically throw away my 1/4 inch fines at all, ever. And you can tell why. We just picked out a nugget that didn't get through the 1/4 inch classifier. And again, I know I'm being repetitive, but I can't tell you how many times on YouTube, and you guys can watch yourself, folks are just classifying and they chuck it. They don't even look in it. And I just found a nugget that'll fit that 1/4 inch size. And so that's one reason I don't throw away my classifications when we're mining. And that's why I wanted to do this YouTube video, because I wanted to teach folks the right way to classify, because I keep watching folks doing it, and I don't understand why they're throwing away their classifications when they can have the gold in them. So I'm going to grab another bucket here, and I'll be back with you in just a second. You good? Okay, so we're continually classifying right now. We're at the last of our bucket. I think this will be the last of it. Here, I'll pour it in and you can wash it into the classifier. Again, what I'm trying to teach is the proper way of classifying. And you're gonna see in this video that we just found a nugget that didn't go through the 1/4 inch classifier. And again, all these videos that are on YouTube, these folks are just chucking away their 1/4 inch classifications. And that's where you could be finding gold nuggets and they're losing them. And I just don't want any folks that are out there mining, you get lucky and you find that 1/8 inch or 1/4 inch, or even like we did 2 years ago, we found a 1/2 inch gold nugget. And if you're just chucking that away back into the river without looking at it, then you're basically losing the opportunity to get a really nice gold nugget. So what we run here is a triple classification system. You can see that we basically we take the 1/2 inch, the 1/4 inch, and the 1/8 inch and stack them. And you just shake them. And this whole bucket's full of water. So the whole 1/4 inch, or the 1/8 inch, is actually underwater now. And by classifying it like this, it allows us to clean off every single layer all at the same time, and we get it inspected. We're just not taking it and throwing it back in the river without looking at it. So all I do is I come and quickly inspect the, I pull out some of the big rocks I know aren't going to be, and then I do save the rest of the material, and I go through that later. We actually lay that out on a piece of plywood, and we actually go through it later. And then here's your 1/4 inch material. You guys just seen me pull out a nugget out of the 1/4 inch material. And what I try to do is at least glance through the 1/4 inch material. You never know what you're gonna find, because once in a while, sometimes it even gets caught along the crack here. And these cracks, you can see where your mesh meets the plastic. Sometimes you find gold trapped in the outside pieces just because of the way you shake it. So what we do is we go through it pretty quickly. If we don't see anything, then what we do is we put that back in a separate bucket. So we have the 1/2 inch classification, then you have the 1/4 inch classification. We kind of dump that back in here. And then if you come up here, this is the 1/8 inch classification. Now, this is where we find a lot of gold nuggets, simply because it's an 1/8 inch class. Oh, here's one right here.
Yep.
Here, if you come up here, it's a nice little, it's a flake. It's a big flake. I don't know if you folks can see that. You can get up real close to it, Judy. If you guys can see that, that's a nice little flake. Kind of looks like a little arrowhead right there. Nice little piece of gold. So the 1/8 inch classification is really where we find our best nuggets. And who's in the sun there? Just step outside a little bit there. There you go. And we're just gonna kind of go through our 1/8 inch classification and kind of pan through it. But this is where we oh, there's another piece. You see that one right there? See that one? That's a nice little nugget right there. Look at that.
Nice picker.
So you go through your 1/8 inch classification, and you can see most of what we have in our classification is iron. You can see all that red iron that's real heavy. A lot of times we'll find BBs in here. Most of the time the BBs do go through the screen, but you do find them in here once in a while. So you go through the 1/8 inch classification real slow, because this is where really you'll find the nuggets. And we find most of our nuggets right here, actually. Oh, there's another one. Do you guys see that one right there?
Yep.
That's a nice little piece. Still has all the clay embedded in it. That's a nice piece right there. Nice picker. And then you just keep going through it. And I'm sure I missed a piece or two. So we never, ever throw this part away. This is where we keep finding the gold. We've been through it sometimes twice, 3 times, and you find another piece here or there. So we don't get rid of our 1/8 inch classification. We actually repan this out. But that's about all I see right now. I don't see any more big chunks of gold. It's kind of fun going through your 1/8 inch class. Oh, here's another piece. I don't know if you guys can pick that up. Can you pick that up, Judy? Get in really close. The camera needs to get real close to that. See that one? But you can't get it with the sun in it. Here, I'll put
Pick
it
it
on
out of there.
Oh. There we go. There's another piece. That's a nice little picker. Now that didn't go through the 1/8 inch classifier. And that's why one reason I talk about making sure you look at your classifications. Because, again, I do see a lot of people throwing away this stuff right off the river without even, whether you're on a river, you're high banking or whatever, they're just throwing it away. I don't have to tell you what they're doing. You guys can watch it on YouTube yourself. And I'm just trying to teach you guys how to do it right, so that way nobody loses anything. So we're going to keep that. We'll go back through this again later. We'll go back through all the 1/8 inch classification later. And now that we got the concentrates right there, we're going to start panning it out. And I'll kind of show you guys. I'm going to educate you on panning too. So I just want to show everybody out of 9 buckets. That's all we got. That's all the concentrates we got out of 9 buckets. Pretty much mostly when you trommel like this, the trommel works out most of the silt. And the silt's basically what's the clay's made out of. So what I wanted to do is take a minute to grab this other pan here before I start panning the gold. And I'm going to grab some of my material that I got at the bottom of the bucket here and put it in my pan, just to kind of do some demonstrations of panning techniques. The whole idea that I want to do in this video is to kind of teach some panning techniques that we learned. This is a Garrett gravity trap. There's other types of pans out there that are just as good. I'm not saying that this is better than any others, but what I did notice is that I'm not sure where all these folks that are on the YouTube doing their gold panning has learned their techniques. Maybe they never even learned or were never even taught. We did a seminar with the company Garrett one time, and they were teaching panning back in the 80s. And then we did something else back in the mid-90s. And basically nothing's ever changed on the panning techniques. And then when you meet the old timers that just had the metal pans, that technique was the same. And then only until I started watching panning on YouTube have I found that these folks are starting to pan in a completely different manner that doesn't make any sense. It has nothing to do with trapping the gold except letting the gold go. I'm going to give a demonstration of what I've seen on the internet. And they get their gold pan and they go to pan and they're doing this. So they get ready to pan down and they're doing this with the gold. So I want everybody to kind of see, this is what I've seen on the internet. They're doing this. Well, that's not, actually that's the 100% opposite of what you should be doing. You should be doing what is like what a vibrating machine does, or what the vibrator on a sluice box duplicates, which is basically you want to work your gold to the bottom riffle of this gold pan. Where my finger is where you want to work the gold there. And by swirling it in your pan and washing the material out is actually the opposite of what you want to be doing. What you want to do is to sit there and vibrate the gold. You want to tilt your pan down, so basically where my finger is, and after vibrating it is where you want the gold to settle. It'll work its way down in the pan and it'll settle against that bottom riffle. So if you watch, I sit there and tilt the pan a little bit and then I vibrate it. And basically that's just working that gold right to the bottom, and then all the overburden on top, you gently just pan it off. And you don't do it in big amounts. When your riffles get full, you work the riffles back and you vibrate it again. And again, you keep it tilted so that the gold hits that very first riffle right there. And you do it, and then you pan it again. And then you repeat that. And you keep doing that because as you're vibrating it down, you keep working that gold to the bottom of your gold pan, so that as you peel off the overburden here, as you can see it just peeling off, you're not losing any gold. If you do that swirling method that you've seen on the internet, only thing you're doing is taking the gold that's at the bottom of that riffle and pushing it out the pan. As soon as your riffles get full of sand like this, if you have gold here and you do that swirling method, there's nothing to keep the gold from dropping in the riffle to keep it in your pan. Absolutely nothing, because they're full and it just washes right out of your pan. That is the absolute wrong way to pan. When your riffles get full, you pan it back, you revibrate it, and then you basically pan out your soft material, the light material that's on the top. And you just keep doing it over and over. When it gets full, you do it again. And then eventually, as you can see how the iron material right here is staying at the base? You know your heaviest material is at the back of your pan. And that's where you want it. You want it settling right here where my finger's at. And if you keep repeating that method, you're not going to lose any gold. And it doesn't, and I'm not saying because it's this gold pan or any other gold pan, I'm not talking about the gold pan itself. I'm just talking about the actual technique of gold panning. There's lots of people that say, oh, I do this or I do that. Well, I don't know how much gold mining they've actually done, and I don't want to hear that they've been doing it for 50 years because I hear that all the time. You could do something for 50 years wrong, and it doesn't mean that's the right way to do it. So this is actually taught by the company that makes this gold pan, and this gold pan isn't a whole lot different than the others. As long as they got riffles in them, they're pretty much all the same. So you can see how the heavy material is being captured at the bottom, and that's pretty much what you want to do here. Just keep it trapped at the bottom, vibrate it back, and work that light material back off your gold pan. And eventually, when you're all done, your gold should be trapped right at that bottom lip. And there's probably a few light flakes in here because we've rinsed some in there, but you can see some of the shot in there. You see some of see the lead shot from us doing skeet shooting is in the pan. And we don't see any gold, so that tells us we did it right in the first place. There's a little bit of flour gold right there, but that looks like it could have been came out of maybe floated off or something. But that's pretty much the panning technique that I wanted to teach everybody and show you guys. And we're gonna go pan the real material here and kind of show you guys how we do it.